Hey everybody, how you doing? It is 9:42 in the west, 12:42 in the east, and I'm in a more comfortable setting than upstairs. Um, and I hope everybody is well and comfortable themselves and doing
And I
swimmingly.
hope everybody is well and comfortable themselves and
Doing swimmingly.
doing swimmingly. I hope everybody.
And that happens when you have three different pages of yourself opened at the same time. And no, that does not mean I'm a narcissist. Although you have to be a bit of a narcissist to do this sort of thing. So, and I fully, fully recognize that and accept any jokes along those lines. Although I will never be at the level of the president in my life. Now, um, I want to show you something, first of all. Let's check on, while we're here, the progress, as it were, of one, uh, how would you call it? Uh, Completed, but not really completed project that we know of as Allegiant Stadium, and is the focus of my talk tonight. And let's have a look at the latest. It's all beautifully lit up for folks again, and it's like this preening peacock in the middle of an otherwise uh, economically barren city, once lively, full of activity, now full of light, right? But this rests as a promise of a better future. And to understand fully what I'm referring to when I say that, it's a good idea to have a look at this. And right here, voila, Allegiant Stadium. As of 9:45 at night Pacific, 12:45 a.m. here, this is what the facility looks like. And you can see the cars going by. If you're not familiar with the setting, that's I-15 below. The Las Vegas Strip basically is to the bottom of the screen. If you were to go across the freeway, where that sign is that I'm pointing to right there, see that sign? That's Las Vegas. That's where the strip is. Okay. In fact, the camera itself is at the top of Mandalay Bay Hotel, which is a Las Vegas Strip facility of grand, and legendary status. Um, Pointing at a camera at this gorgeous facility. Okay. This facility is empty and sadder, which is very sad. Uh, Sadder still is that it's draining money. Oh, by the way, they've given us a nice close up. Thank you, folks. You can get a better view of the equipment they have out there. They're still working on it, still putting the finishing touches on it, and still working on it indoors um, um, to get ready for what should be the first NFL game ever played in Las Vegas, uh, September. So, yeah, fingers crossed. I am quite excited to see that. Now, there is a big problem I've got to clear up. First of all, this stadium is designed to host the Super Bowl game. No question about it. It's got state of the art corridors and facilities of proper width. The Coliseum, which I was under my direction to form a Super Bowl plan for to host the 2005 Super Bowl. Our plan was formed with the help of Anderson Consulting Team in 1999 through 2000. And out of 11 cities, Oakland emerged as one of the three finalist cities to host the 2005 Super Bowl. We lost to Jacksonville. So I know something of preparing a stadium for a Super Bowl game. And the Coliseum, as it's laid out, had narrow corridors. This one has wide corridors. In fact, this stadium I haven't seen the upper decks, so I would hope this problem doesn't emerge in the upper decks. But the problem at Levi Stadium was that the upper deck ingress egress, the upper deck vomitoriums were they're small. And when you get a Super Bowl game, you're talking about 70,000 to 75,000 people. This one will be about, I believe, 70,000. So, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt until I've seen the upper decks myself, because it bellies out like that a little bit, which gives me hope that the upper decks are going to be in better shape. But I say all that to say this, because there is a bit of a kind of a fake news thing going on, where let's come back to that, where, and I hate to do this because it comes from a publication I really like and a person whose work I really enjoy. I haven't had the chance to meet him in person yet, and I've tried, but hasn't happened yet. And that is Scott Robeson and his blog and Twitter account called Vital Vegas. He put out on August 3rd this tweet, and it reads, "On the bright side, Las Vegas gets the Super Bowl in 2024. Folks, I am here to tell you that is not true." And I reached out to the National Football League communications, and I was informed by Brian McCarthy that it is not true, that Las Vegas is not getting the Super Bowl for 2024. And what he wrote prior to my arrival was, he says, "Keep up," and he's referring to this CBS Sports article, which claims that the NFL plans to expand the regular season, or because of those plans, it threw what they call the monkey wrench into the plans for New Orleans. And this came out April 4th. Okay, this came out April 4th. Note the date, April 4th. All right, and it's by John Breach. It reads, "The city of New Orleans, currently scheduled to host Super Bowl 58, is currently scheduled to host Super Bowl 58, but that's something that might have to change due to a potential conflict caused by the NFL's decision to expand the regular season to 17 games." All right, and so it reads that they're in close communications and everything else. It doesn't seem that doesn't say they're going to lose it. And this is speculation from here, where it reads, "If New Orleans loses the Super Bowl, the NFL is expected to give the city another one shortly after that," and which would be February 2025. And so they speculate as to where the next Super Bowl is going to be. And it says, as it turns out, this is a guess by the author, "As it turns out, New Orleans might not be the only Super Bowl relocation situation the league has to deal with in the near future. Super Bowl 56 is currently in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium at the end of the 2021 season. And it says that the problem is that the coronavirus has slowed down construction of the venue to the point where Rams CEO Kevin Demoff recently admitted that the building might not be done until 2021. See that? The building might not be done until 2021, which makes me wonder, hey, are we going to have an NFL season after all? And it says the NFL has a strict rule in place about not letting a Super Bowl a stadium host the Super Bowl during its first season of existence. But it says nothing at all about Las Vegas. Nothing. Okay. And yet, even though this says nothing about Las Vegas, Scott went ahead and jumped the gun with his shall I say, unfortunate assertion here. I'm trying to find out where that is. Yeah. Okay. That's not something that Scott should have done. So he did. He says Las Vegas, he didn't say Las Vegas may get. He says Las Vegas gets the Super Bowl in 2024. And I am here to tell you officially that is wrong. And I can't emphasize how much that's I thought out of character for Scott to do, and yet he did it. And so and he said, he says here, including according to the league, reads as follows. Excuse me for a second here. Don't know. Yeah, it says pure and simple. Let me try something here. It's here. I'm in the wrong area. I'm in the sent part, not the mailbox part. Okay. There. Yeah. Says right there. And no, Las Vegas has not been awarded a Super Bowl. Okay. Las Vegas has not been awarded a Super Bowl. And what Scott wrote was wrong. He writes, on the bright side, Las Vegas gets the Super Bowl in 2024. In other words, hey, look, it's going to be there. He didn't say, he didn't post this as a question. In other words, hey, is it possible that it could slide to Las Vegas? And the answer is no, it isn't. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that isn't meeting public eye. I know, for example, that, aside from the iron workers not being paid and the parking situation not being done because of the money and the coronavirus drying up the money, this isn't the time for fake news. This is the time to really dig in. And if you're going to be in media, tell the public what's really going on rather than what you want them to hear or what you want to go on. Look, no one denies that this is a beautiful stadium. It is. The matter of Oakland versus Las Vegas is for the court to decide. I'm on the side of Oakland's moving on and establishing its own mark in sports when it can afford to do so. But right now, you have over 150,000 people dying, and at the rate of 1,000 a day in the United States, and that should take precedent solving that problem, right? Because if this thing goes just a tick south, in other words, it gets worse, we may not see an NFL season. And right now, we're looking at before our eyes the collapse of our society. I hate to put it in such dire terms, but you want to give me a picture that's better, because we are not serious about solving this problem. We have too many videos of people getting in the fights of wearing a mask, when in point of fact, last year we lost 36,000 people to traffic fatalities. You get in your car, and every time you get in your car, you put on a seatbelt, but you can't wear a mask. That's stupid. And the mask affects other people. Having it on helps other people, increases their probability of staying alive. Why do you want to kill people? Right? No one should want to fight about that. Like they're right. They were fighting for their right to hurt other people. I mean, come on. That's ridiculous. All right. Hey, if you just joined us, what I'm talking about here is Scott Robeson, Vital Vegas. Hey, Scott, maybe you're there. Saying that on the bright side, Las Vegas gets the Super Bowl in 2024. That is not true. The NFL has said no Super Bowl for Las Vegas, period. Doesn't mean that one isn't going to happen, and I think won't happen in the future, but it is intellectually irresponsible to put out a tweet that says, on the bright side, Las Vegas gets the Super Bowl in 2024. Look, I get that Las Vegas is having a lot of problems. The stadium is going to be underwater financially by the end of the year, arguably already. And so there are a lot of people who are scared. And even if you go to Vital Vegas main blog and Twitter account where he's visits different hotels, they're empty. They are empty. A friend of mine went to Las Vegas airport, showed a picture where just the Allegiant Airlines terminal there was nobody there, I think, right? The Allegiant Airlines desk, excuse me, nobody there. Okay, so there are a lot of problems, and Las Vegas is not in a vacuum. You have states that are such that if someone goes to Las Vegas, they have to come back and they're quarantined. I think 8 states fill that category right now. This is all bizarre. And it's all saying, hey, look, stay at home. If you have to work at home, many people do that, right? That's what it's saying. And we've got to, and so if we look at this, we have to start asking some really hard questions. But before we do, let's go back and take another look at the location issue and why. Again, this is for those of you who've just joined. And Scott Robeson of Vital Vegas got his idea from this. Super Bowl 2024 location might, and again, this says might, have to change, all right? A 17-game schedule could create conflict in host city. Okay, that's what's written here. And what happened was that rather than essentially, he referred to that, Scott did, as his guide, all right, down below. Okay, this is it, all right? But, and the reason for this is that it's the date of Mardi Gras, which changes every year because it's tied to the date of Easter. And in 2024, Fat Tuesday will fall on February 13th, with many events scheduled to happen the same weekend as the Super Bowl. Basically, it's not clear if New Orleans is big enough to host both events at the same time, which is why there might have to be a change. And Saints spokesperson Greg Binsell said the team was well aware of the potential conflict when the bidding for Super Bowl 58 went on in 2018. And he said the host committee, led by the New Orleans Saints and the Greater New Orleans Sports Foundation, has remained in close communication with league officials about the change to a 17-game regular season as it relates to the city hosting Super Bowl 58 in 2024. Binsell said via ESPN.com. The bid committee, the New Orleans Saints, and the NFL worked together to build in contingencies if a potential conflict with Mardi Gras should affect the Super Bowl date. Mutually agreed upon terms during the bid process granted assurances that the NFL and host committee would explore all options for still hosting the game in 2024 or agreeing to host the Super Bowl in a future year when the citywide calendar permits. I will say this, New Orleans has been in this situation before and hasn't seen the Super Bowl taken away from them. The only time that did happen to them wasn't for any fear of overcrowding, which is interesting. It was because the Superdome was not ready. And that goes all the way back to 1974 and Super Bowl IX pitting the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Minnesota Vikings. That was supposed to be played in the Superdome, but the Superdome was unfinished. So they had to go to Tulane Stadium to play it. So it was still in New Orleans, but it was at Tulane Stadium, outdoors. All right. So anyway, this talks about the listings, but as I point out here, there's something else that Kevin Dimoff says that the Rams stadium may not be done until 2021, which means that, hey, the Rams may not even see their new facility for use this year. And because coronavirus has, really slowed down construction of the venue. And some of that has come into Las Vegas Stadium as well. So that certificate of occupancy that some people have been, crowing about is a temporary one. It expires on the 22nd of August. It is not a permanent, a permanent certificate of occupancy. And I've heard some and seen some references on social media, on Twitter, where they would just say it's a uh, a permanent. And the implication was it was a permanent uh, certificate of occupancy. It's not at all. It's not. Also, some of you may remember the lawsuit that I wrote about regarding and I'll refer to that here. Um, the lawsuit that I wrote about regarding the iron workers, and I have an update that I'm going to expand on more. It's a very sad story that I had to adjust, if you will, and mull over because it involves some tragic information that I've decided not to put out. And basically, the tragic information has to do with an organization called Steel Partners. Okay, and Steel Partners, right here, and I'm calling this up right now. All right, and Steel Partners, excuse me. This is the I'm about to bring this up here. Yeah, Steel Partners. This is it. And let me scroll down. Go and scroll down here so that you can see it. Oh, excuse me. There it is. So Las Vegas Raiders, Allegiant Stadium Ironworkers lawsuit. Durr and Isbell builders didn't pay them. And the way it actually worked was like this, okay? Durr and Isbell were the primary roof contractors. The way it worked is you had Stadco, which is the Raiders, that hired Mortensen McCarthy, the builder, and Mortensen McCarthy in turn hired Durr Isbell, and Durr Isbell in turn hired a number of subcontractors, Fresinet, all right, and then Steel Partners. Okay, so that's the way the money flow worked. But what happened was that Steel Partners never paid its ironworkers all the money that they were owed. And then Steel Partners turned around and filed for bankruptcy and went out of business in April. You hear what I'm saying? The last big job Steel Partners had, a local metal fabricator, was Las Vegas Stadium. Then the higher ups, one of the main person running it, disappeared, if you will. And what happened was that there were arguments between Mortensen McCarthy and Durr. So what it looks like, although I haven't got enough information to prove my my hypothesis, right? But what it looks like is that Mortensen McCarthy didn't have enough money to pay Durr, and Durr in turn didn't have enough money to pay Steel Partners, and that caused Steel Partners to go into organizational tailspin, which eventually led to its demise as a firm. That is written. I found the document regarding the bankruptcy report a few days ago. But the other backstory is tearfully sad, and I can't put it any other way than that. It is tearfully sad, and I pray for the people that have been involved in it. But this stadium, because of its unique roof design and because of what is appearing to be the fact that the Raiders didn't have enough money to effectively pay people because of the design change orders, the frequency, because of that, all right, has caused at least one organization already to go out of business. And so there's this old saying about the tip of the iceberg, and it's beginning to look like this one lawsuit coupled with the Merle Steel lien of last year is beginning to look at like the tip of a very large financial iceberg that consists of a lot of bad stories. because what's happened is I was told by one of my informants is that they were consistently changing the stadium design literally on the spot as they were building it because they would find a problem here or there and they had to make adjustments in the stadium design. When you have to do that, like for example, a piece of glass doesn't fit properly. So the piece of glass is too big because it was designed, it's too big. Then what happens is if you get that piece of glass onto the property and you start installing it, you realize it's too big. You have to reorder the glass and adjust it so that it does. So you have to either go back and order it, or you have to change the frame to accommodate it. And you have to make the decision to do that because for cost reasons. Then you've got to change the frame around it and the electrics. So examples like that happen, and I've said this before on my broadcast several times. And when you do that, it doesn't come, these changes, for free. It comes in additional time spent. It comes in additional payment for work. And so what happened in the case of the stadium, and the reason for the situation that exists now with a lawsuit is that the iron workers that were not paid for a period of time between September of last year between October and December of last year. Excuse me, I was confusing the time that one of the people I know started with the timing of when they weren't paid, but it was October to December of last year when they weren't paid, and I have the timesheets actually for presentation and a report. The actual timesheets that corresponds to the time that was spent fixing the problems in the cable net roof system. In other words, to put it bluntly and simply, they weren't paid for the extra time required to fix the cable net roof problem. That's why the lawsuit exists. Okay? And it's not the first time that such a situation has existed. The last time it existed was what led to Merle Steel filing its lien because they had identified a total of over $178 million in change orders, and they forecast that against what they were to be paid and feared, for reasons that weren't made clear, that they weren't going to be paid. All right. And early on, filed a mechanics lien. A friend of mine, Clinton Killian, who's an Oakland lawyer, who's done a bunch of mechanics liens for clients, said that it's very unusual for a contractor to file a mechanics lien this early in a stadium construction process. And yet that was done. So again, what's going on is there's a gigantic iceberg of fiscal problems that has not met the light of day. And I'm not talking about the bond issue here. All right. That's on the other side. I'm talking about with respect to the money drawn down to build the stadium versus the money needed to actually build it when you consider the number of change orders that were done. And now for those of you who say, well, the change order is already explained and everything else. Well, not exactly. Because if you go back to the lawsuit with the mechanic lien, all right, that was filed by Merle, what you'll find is that filing was out of it said in the fine print that there would be very, very clearly, okay, that there would be a difference. They would have to discuss whether or not the change orders that were asked for were actually ones that needed to be done. So there was a difference of opinion between Mortensen McCarthy, all right, and Merrill Steele as to whether or not the change orders that Merrill Steele said they were asked to do were actually ones that Morton McCarthy was going to pay for. And so when that happened, Merrill said, "Oh, no. We're going to make sure we get the money for the work that we're being paid for." And I was also told by another informant that the fistfights were common on the stadium floor, and they were always about money. It wasn't like over, somebody sleeping with somebody else's girlfriend or something like that, or wife. They were always over money, and in particular, there were major fights between Dur Isbell and Mortensen McCarthy superiors over money. People were not getting paid. So this is a very, very large problem here that's not being discussed anywhere. Now, if this were a project like the Atlanta Falcons Stadium, you would have heard about it, okay? And because the Falcons were very honest about what was going on. If they had a problem, they had a press conference. They pointed out that there was a problem, and they told everybody about the status of the work, and the problem got solved. And the result is a beautiful stadium that's functioning today and has hosted a Super Bowl game already, and as well as the SEC championship game, I believe, twice. So, but in this instance, you don't have that kind of reporting, and you need to, because people need to have comfort that the people that are involved in the stadium know what they're doing and know how to fix problems. But that comfort can't be there if they're not telling you what the real problems are. And that's the situation that exists here. So I'm going to pick up more on this, and I'm going to bring you more detail regarding the Steel Partners issue as when I have finished gathering together all the information out there. I was waiting for some more information to roll out, and it has. And then I want to put it together on paper in a way that it makes sense to you. And then I can explain and talk about it on video and move forward. But I wanted to make this video to let you know that as much as I respect and love Scott Robeson's blog, Vital Vegas, the NFL said today there is no Las Vegas Super Bowl. So if you see that tweet out there, just keep that in mind and just post this as a reminder that the NFL said no Las Vegas Super Bowl, because he wrote that, hey, there's going to be a Las Vegas Super Bowl. The NFL said no. Subscribe to Zenny62, bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. We'll see you.